We are delighted to welcome Juliette Stapleton to come speak with us today. She is coming all the way from Tallinn, Estonia. Juliette's an online visibility strategist, and she mentors coaches and other experts. And she really has a passion for human design and over 25 years of experience in marketing. And she brings all of that to her work with solopreneurs and small businesses. She specializes in positioning and messaging and helping her clients really unlock their own unique brand voices and helps them build a strong positioning as an authority in their niche or niche, however you say it, and attract perfectly aligned clients and opportunities for themselves. She's internationally recognized for her non-traditional marketing approach. She told us a few minutes ago she's on the edge. Her visibility that sells marketing approach. And she has a focus on really personal self-recognition, self-expression, and using these as the key to, magnetic client attraction. Juliette is a seasoned podcast host, a passionate speaker, and an Amazon best-selling author. She's been featured in multiple online publications, including Forbes and Entrepreneur. And you can find out more about Juliette, because there's lots more to find out, at her website, juliettestapleton.com. And Emily, I think we'll put a link in the chat for that. So welcome, Juliette. Thank you so much for coming to speak with us today. Is there anything I missed that you'd like to add to the intro here?
No, that was very impressive. Thank you very much. And welcome to everyone. And thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And I'm hoping that at the end of this talk, you're going to walk away inspired to do marketing slightly differently, the way that suits you. And that's my goal for today. And so I want to put a couple of things, forward about. I know that you had those of you who are part of the coaches of in Cahoots, I think you had a chat and you already, maybe you bought one of my books and, you posted some of the charts, body graph charts in your community. And I'd say you got extremely confused and overwhelmed and said to yourself, what the heck am I looking at? If you're not familiar with human design, I want to put you at ease. I'm not going to overwhelm you. I want to give you permission not to dive, not to dive into human design, because it's like an ocean. There is no shallow end. There's just a cliff and you have to fall off the cliff, and that's what happens. You don't have to do that. What I want to bring to you is the awareness that there is a way to follow our inner guidance, and human design of all the personality systems and different other modalities and different other guidance systems, for me, is the most practical. I've all my life looked for answers. Why am I not the way like other people? Why are they, able to do that and achieve this, but I can't? I'm trying so hard. I'm doing everything, every checkbox on the list is checked, and yet I'm getting broken tap results, and they are, soaring to the top of the success mountain. And it's only when I came across human design that, in very, very simple terms, I saw the reflection of, yes, there is nothing wrong with me. I'm just differently made. Energetically, I'm different. I don't have the resources some other people have, and yet I have maybe things, or I can see deeper than some other people can. And there I have a certain strategy, in a way, an approach to interact with other people in a way that does not give me a pushback when I'm too much, or not making me feel like the world is too much for me and I have to prove myself, nonstop. So that's what human design did to me. And this is why I'm passionate about it. I am not and never will be a human design reader. The human design reader or analyst is the person who knows all those little things on the chart, right? They are educated and they spend years in the training to be able to read the chart and do the readings. I'm not that. I'm just really passionate about what makes sense. So I take that, like cherry pick. The human design is like a big table and a buffet, a big, big table with loads of stuff. And I come in and I cherry pick what I like. And then I go deep and I really savor it and I try to understand whether it's for me or how can I bring it to my people. And then I bring them a little plate. And this is what I did in my book. I brought a little plate of goodies and I said, this is what you need from that table. The rest, if you want at your own time, you can go, but it's not going to make any difference because this is the essence. And so this is what I'm trying to bring today as well. I'm hoping that it's not going to be a session about this is what human design is, right? I want us to focus more on empowerment to do things the way that feels right and natural, correct for us in our businesses, in the way we're showing up in the world, in our marketing, and in our lives, really. Because this is just a way of living. It's not a dogma. Human design is not like a rule book, right? It divides people into different categories by their energy types and, the profiles. If you have read my books, I talk about the energy types. There's four energy types. There is projectors. I'm a projector. Reflectors, very, very rare, 1% of reflectors. We have manifestors and we have the generator type that's divided into manifesting generators and regular generators. So for people who don't know human design, this is gibberish. But really what we're talking about is what sort of the quality of our energy, like let's say aura, is around us. And when we are together, how do we interact in that auric space? How do we, are we open? Are we closed? Do we reflect? Do we embrace? And based on that is what is the most aligned and the most satisfying way to interact between these types so that both get some sort of benefits from that. And this is what, and I'm going to answer all your questions. I might be feeling a little bit that I have to over explain everything. Please raise your hand who has no idea what I'm talking about and what human design is. So I will know how much detail I have to go into, or how can I simplify. Nobody's raising hands. Oh, one. Ha. So I don't have to go too far, right? So we have the 5 energy types. We also have personality sort of traits with our human design profiles. That's something I also talk about in the book. And the third thing that the book gives us is the authority, the human design and what I'm explaining in the book. And the authority is just a suggested way to energetically make a decision, not make a decision out of the logic, rationalization, fear of missing out, or any other, mental activity, but based on our body, or for small percentage of people, sometimes their environment and time. So this is all, it can seem very complicated, like I'm talking about this, but what does it really mean? I think that it's really important that I give some maybe personal examples, and then we can go into more, questions, and then I will be able to answer.
That sounds really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the big questions that was always, I will go to the beginning. I started my online business. I already had my digital marketing agency, but I started my online business to promote myself as Juliette Stapleton, someone who wants to teach or coach or do something to other people and break free from location that I was kind of stuck with my digital marketing agency for small local businesses in 2017. The very first thing that was very overwhelming looking back was trying to figure out how people make it. How do you make it? How do you, so you have, you created your Facebook profile or put a website up, and so what's next? How do you make it? And you're looking at all these amazing, vibrant people who seem so successful and they get so much engagement, and, and they're selling out their programs. And you start analyzing, like, okay, so what is this person like? There was particularly one person in my journey who I connected so deeply. I thought, oh my God, this lady, she is exactly like me. She's literally like me. She just looks different, right? Then when I got together and actually did have like a private interaction with her once, our birthdays are in reverse. Mine is the 3rd of September and hers is the 9th of March. So 3, 9, whatever the years, right? There was so many synchronicities with her. And I thought, if she can make it, she also seems to be like just a regular girl. If she can make it, I surely can make it. But I tried to do everything the way she was doing it. I took all her programs, I tried to teach, learn from her. I did everything. And yet she was successful in what she was doing. She was attracting so many people. She had all these group programs, but I couldn't sustain that amount of not visibility. I have no problem being visible. You know, this is a muscle I've worked out over my lifetime, but it's just about sustaining so much activity in life. And I didn't have that internal resource. You know, I needed much more rest. I couldn't go to sleep exhausted in the morning, wake up and, you know, do something again. I had this real weird cycles that was very difficult to follow. With those cycles, it was very difficult to follow those traditional marketing pieces of advice where you have to, you know, post every day on Facebook and send 50 friend requests. I was specializing in Facebook organic marketing at the time, by the way. So I did all that. I did all that hard way. I posted, I sat down, I thought, okay, what am I going to share today? I'd write a post. You know, now I'm getting, sometimes in my memories, I'm getting these posts and they're not written poorly, but they're just motivational nonsense. They have absolutely no substance. And why is that? Because you simply cannot share, you know, your essence on demand. And this is what we are all forced to do. We're forced to create a lot of content for the sake of creating content because we're told that we need to be consistent, right? And we need to be seen frequently. And so we're forcing ourselves into this hamster wheel, producing this nonsense that we secretly don't believe in most of the time, right? And we're doing a lot of that stuff. Some of it we do believe in, but most of it we don't. Raise your hand if you have ever done that. Post for the
Julia,
sake of posting
I
because
just,
they tell you to. And you know, I question these things. You know, one of the things you mentioned, I said I'm on the edge. I've always been on the edge. And this is also in my human design profile. This is the profile numbers. We have the 6 profile lines and there's 12 human design profiles, which kind of determine it's like a costume you're wearing. You know, how do you present yourself to the world? And how you think you present yourself to the world, because those are two different things. You know, somebody can dress up and think, oh my God, I look so stylish, and somebody in the street looks at them and says, oh my God, this is just crazy one. So this is different, right? But in my human design profile, I have this number 3. If you have a number 3, if you know your profile, that means that you're going to test things and challenge things. So somebody presents you something, you're going to try it, but you're still going to try and find ways to do it differently. Or me, I'm a 1-3 profile. The 1 line is always looking to probe the fear, to probe if it's solid, to, you know, because there's sort of drive. I'm afraid to be insecure. I'm afraid to be not solid. And life is not solid. Life is fluid. So, you know, I'm constantly trying to challenge whatever they're saying, but not always consciously. So with the Facebook organic marketing, there's so much we were told. And I was not only doing it, I was teaching it too. And it was working for some of my clients. And for me, it bloody didn't. I built a Facebook group, right? 2,000 people. I talk about this in my book. 2,000 people at some point, it was in my Facebook group. And I never got clients from my Facebook group. But I got clients from other activities I did. For example, podcasts or writing articles or speaking on events, right? I got clients. I had my client group, but they would go into my free group and they would be busy. They would be active there, engaging there. Nobody else signing up. It annoyed me so much because I'm thinking, why am I trying so hard to entertain this group of people? I'm actually a loner. I'm a complete lone wolf in life. I do not need a Facebook group as a person. Why am I doing this? You know, and at some point it just became so overwhelming. And I had to question this. Do I actually need this? And I was already kind of dabbling into human design and playing with my personality, and human design, my traits that I have in my chart was saying to me, yes, you are actually a lone wolf. Yeah, yeah, you don't like people. Yeah, you don't actually need people around you. You are much more okay on your own. And I thought, why not let's just test this stuff. What if I just release this Facebook group? What if I just, close it? Is my business going to stop? Because I don't think I'm getting any clients from this group. So what am I doing? Like every day thinking I need to entertain a group of people, post something there. And so I removed individually, one by one, everyone, because if you know anything about Facebook groups, you can't delete them if you have people in there. You can only archive them. Archiving doesn't work because it's there, it still sits at the back of your head. So I deleted them. And I remember the satisfaction I had from individually deleting everyone, even though some of them were my friends and some of them were my clients, but this was just this free group. That's something I also learned then in my human design profile, how this third line really likes breaking bonds. It loves making bonds, but it also breaks bonds because it's the line that is very evolutional. So for the evolution to happen, something has to be let go of. You cannot grab onto everything, there's not going to be any growth. So those are the things that I really love about human design. When you're looking at your chart, and of course, you do have to start with some form of reading, or, I'm not going to kind of keep this till the end, but I do also do not the readings. I create these blueprints, marketing blueprints by design, where I just take things that are important, like, for example, the profiles, the numbers, to understand yourself, to give yourself permission. If you're a lone wolf, you do not need to have a huge group of people that you entertain. You can connect with people one-on-one on your terms, and you can run the business the way it suits you, because when you run the business the way it suits you, you're not going to sabotage it. That was a big when you're creating, we all started these online businesses for what? To make money, of course. We can't shy away from this, right? For some of us, for me, for example, it was the only way to survive, right? I was a sole provider in my family for over a decade. So make money, yes. Share something that you have burning inside, and feel satisfaction doing that, feel recognized for that, just have some sort of place and leave some sort of legacy. Those things are also important when the financials are covered, when you're out of the survival mode. So these are the kind of things that we created these businesses for. And then we go and we become slaves to some other systems, some other ways to do things, some other, strange ways to connect to people that don't feel natural at all. And we still buy into this, and we try and do it because we're told this is how it's done. And yet so many people, so many coaches are failing because they're doing things not the way that it feels good to them. I'm not saying easy. I'm not saying that there is a magic wand that you just like wave in the air. There is hard work as well. But isn't it lovely when you're doing something that maybe is hard, maybe it needs effort, maybe it's a long-term sort of goal that you're pursuing, but you know that you are expressing yourself in the way that feels good to you. You feel good about yourself. You're creating a business that's convenient to your lifestyle, to your energy requirements. This is what I'm finding in human design. This is why I'm saying build the business, run the business, show up, create marketing strategies based on what suits you. And this is one of the questions that, we were discussing questions before this event, and one of the questions was like, can you tell us how to put the human design information into a marketing plan? I can't answer this question because the human design is the science of differentiation. It's basically a modality about uniqueness. And therefore, nobody can tell you how to do you. You have to figure it out on your own. But with human design, it becomes easier because it gives you so many validations that you are the way you are, and it's good that you're where you are. And so you become almost cocky about being how you are. And that's a good feeling, because that's this compelling, we're always hear this compelling messaging, compelling this, compelling that. Compelling only becomes when you're confident that what you're saying is worth saying, right? That you're channeling your truth when you're speaking. That's what compelling messaging is. It's not specific words. It's not even knowing your ideal client. It's just literally channeling what you have to say. And so that changes everything, how we approach the marketing, how we approach business. Let me just see, I'm getting distracted. I have a little bit like undiagnosed ADHD, so I see the questions. Let me just look there and maybe I can, if there's a question. Okay, so trying to understand what elements are we focusing on as explore branding in this workshop. Thank you. I'm going to just, please bring me, if I go away from my topic, bring me back with the questions, guys. I appreciate this. With the human design, there is a big, it's very seductive. There's a lot of juicy detail. Book yourself like a professional reading or come to me and let's do the blueprint. I'm still going to give you enough detail that's very juicy, but don't worry about learning it because you don't need it, right? What you need to understand is your energy type for how you interact with the world. What is your signature feeling of alignment? For me as a projector, it's a success, and it's what success for me is maybe not what a success is for a generator type, because for a generator type, it's all about satisfaction, because their existential question, this is what I want to talk about, the existential questions for each one of us, they're slightly different. If you're a generator type, your existential question is, who am I? Here's the thing. The generators in this world are brought up by the world, the parents, the society, to give to others. And they're here to learn about themselves. They need to look within. Everything you do as a generator needs to bring you joy. If it doesn't, question it. Question why you're doing it. It has to bring you satisfaction. You have to like yourself in this role. It might not be an easy thing, it might be a very serious thing, but you have to buzz from doing it. Because you're a generator, you're here to be satisfied at the end of the day with the work you've done. That's also going to be a similar feeling of success for you, this satisfaction. Emotional generator is the same as the generator. Emotional refers to an authority. I'm going to talk about the authorities now as well. So right now we're talking about generators, projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. And the generators, we also have manifesting generators and generators. The difference is just the pace. So you still have this satisfaction. You're still here in the world to learn who you are. This is your big question, and how you feel about yourself, right? So focus within. It's not about other people, really, truly not. When you focus within as a generator, you're going to radiate so much life force and so much light that people just come to you. Here's the secret. In your business, it doesn't have to be your business. You can do something that you like, but let's say what really lights you up right now is baking bread, and you bake bread every day. I don't know, you're doing something every day, and that really, really lights you up. When you start mentioning these things that light you up to your clients, where people work with people, we talk about other things, not just businesses. That's where people are feeling this amazing attraction to you, because you are really vibing with something that you love doing, right? And that's the secret. We think that we have to bring people just our businesses. We try to separate ourselves, our personalities from our businesses, but it's wrong, because our businesses is us. Like, our businesses is who we are, right? We're bringing this to the table. Yes, in some form, in some moment, we're playing a role, maybe of a guide or a facilitator or whatever we do. But really, it's us that people connect to. Essentially, they're paying for access to us, to you individually. That's another mind-blowing realization. So you don't have to compete. You just have to compete with yourself in a way. You have to allow yourself to be more of yourself. If you're a projector like me, your existential question will be, who is the other? Because projectors, we're poor souls. We don't know ourselves. We don't know what the heck is going on with ourselves, but we can see so deeply into the other. We just have this innate feeling to, like, we can penetrate into the other's aura, and quite strongly into the most vulnerable little details. We can see the truth. We can see that something's misaligned, and we can ask questions and we can make a comment that when the recipient is open to it, and that's why we have to wait for invitations as our strategy, right? When the recipient is open to it, it can be transformational for them because projectors are here to guide. This is why we're focused on the other. We can only learn about ourselves from the feedback of the other too. So some people who don't appreciate us in our world can be very damaging. So correctness of people in our world is very important. We have to be very picky who we allow, right? If you are a manifester, manifestors are here to ignite. And ignition is a very interesting thing. Manifestor is a very powerful energy. There's not that many of them, about 10%. And they also have a very, very dense aura. Sometimes you can read in some books that it's a repelling aura, but it's not repelling as in, ugh. It's just so dense that we might feel uneasy with a manifestor in the room if they're doing their own thing and they don't tell us what they're about to do. And then, they just get up and leave the room and you're saying, what the heck just happened? I don't know. So if you're a manifestor, you just have to inform what you're going to do. You don't need to ask permission. You don't need to hold back. You're here to initiate. And your existential question is, what impact am I here to make? Because you have this dense aura, because you're like a fireball, big bang impact thing. This is what you're here. You're birthing something into the world. You're not here to create the world, as in to build it, to finish your projects. Not at all. You're just here to create this impact. When you're working with clients, you have to think, what impact am I making here? When you want to say something to a client, you can, to ignite them. You just don't hold back. Don't people please, because you're not here to connect. You're here to make an impact, right? It's very interesting to know about manifestors or learn about manifestors, sometimes like famous manifestors, and see how some people like in their environment would be complaining that they're angry or aggressive or mean or something. And I'm thinking, no, you're just in their way, and they didn't inform you how they prefer to be contacted or or approached. So it's so interesting. Manifesting generators are there is a little bit of a manifestor energy, but it's about acting faster than a regular generator. So I said the difference between the generator and the manifesting generator is the pace. The generator is very steady. It's like, imagine an elephant or a whale. It's a huge, slower, you would think, animal, but it covers huge amounts of distance at a time, right? It has a lot of stamina. That's the kind of generator energy. One thing at a time, one process at a time, over and over until it's mastered, and a bit slower pace. And it's okay to be slow and steady. This is the generator. Manifesting generators, they're like this. They're like, they like a sparkle on the cake. You don't know where the flare is going to go. Like, you don't know where the light is going to go. This energy goes everywhere, and it's much, much faster. It's a little impatient because there's no steady process involved, right? The energy switches all the time. But there is also this conveyor belt approach that can be in life. Do a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, and everything is done. So there's much more energy with I'm not going to go into the reason why. It has to do with the energy flowing in the chart, but really there's a lot of energy. So a lot of actually very vibrant coaches that we see are manifesting generators. That doesn't mean that other types are not successful at all, because manifesting generators skip steps because they're impatient, and so they have to go back and fix all the mistakes and everything. So there's a lot of struggle of different type involved with every one of us. But I just wanted to give you like a difference between the two. Sorry, having a Juliette Stapleton moment, the blonde moment happened, and blank face. I was talking about the manifestors, reflectors. I don't think there's going to be a reflector here. They're very, very rare, although I was married to one for 3 years, so I am lucky to experience kind of the whole range. Reflectors are very interesting people. They're very fluid. They're not so good at connecting with others, although they could be very friendly and sociable, but their auras are also very dense because they're here to just digest life and then share in a way this what they're digesting with the world. Not share necessarily as a content, although if you're listening and you are a reflector, content is wonderful for you to share what you see. The reflector, the quality of reflector life will always reflect what is in their environment. So when you meet someone and they're a reflector and they're very toxic, that means that there's toxic people in their environment. It's not, you can always tell who they're hanging around with because they're literally like a mirror. And another thing about reflectors is it's an energy that of this sampling, they will go into different things. They could be, into religion today, and tomorrow they're, anarchists, and next day they're something else again, and they go and they just explore this whole thing. So they are very switching, they can be switching in their direction, and it's okay because that's just their role in life, is just to digest and give us like a litmus paper of how healthy the environment is, how healthy the society is. Very, very interesting, interesting type. Sorry, guys, I'm getting distracted there because I saw ChatGPT. Yes, I'm going to say something here now, just as a disclaimer, okay, guys? ChatGPT doesn't have a brain, it doesn't have logical thinking, and it will give you very good matching words, and you will think that it sounds really good. It's not very trustworthy in terms of, especially with things like human design, astrology. I always recommend read books, talk to people rather than ChatGPT. I do use AI, full disclaimer, I do use AI. I'm not anti-AI, but it doesn't even understand the words it's giving to you back. Keep that in mind when you're playing with it. So just wanted to say that. Now, guys, we got a little bit distracted. Oh, you have the daughter that's stepdaughter that's a reflector. So it's very interesting. In the reflector quick tip, they don't have any defined centers. So on the body graph, you saw there's 9 centers, and some of them are colored in, and some of them are white. So the reflector doesn't have any colored in centers, which means they don't have defined centers. They're very open. They're like they're just receivers of everything around them, and then they kind of amplify this back into the world, right? So with the reflectors, it's very interesting. You can look at their profile, whatever the numbers on the profile, and that will be more, of a characteristics. Every reflector is very different from another reflector. It's the kind of type that doesn't have common traits that much as the other ones. So I hope that this helps. Guys, maybe we can you can ask me some other questions, because I feel like I'm just explaining what I didn't want to do, explaining the human design system, and then getting all over the place. So how does projector use invitation as a strategy? This is a really good question for projectors. Guys, you will hear this. You have to wait for the invitation. The invitations with the projectors refer to that interaction that I described earlier about projector being able to see into the most vulnerable of the other, to the real core. We don't do it consciously, but we really do. We just penetrate. We have this real laser focused, very heavy aura. In your life, how many times did you say something to some other person, just as an, from the heart, you just wanted to help, or you had an opinion about them, and you got a complete blank face and a pushback because they did not invite you. It wasn't your time, they were not fully open to be guided. I have that with my husband, who is also a projector, right? So when he is not open, I can't say anything. It just falls, and it makes me feel very unseen. But it's because I'm not following my strategy of waiting for an invitation to give guidance. You don't need invitation to create content. You don't need an invitation to, go shopping. You don't need, invitations are always there. See invitations for projector as something that pulls you, not something that you think that is good, not with your mind, but something that energetically pulls you. I felt this with human design, for example. I came across it. I was mind blown, and then I just couldn't shut up talking about it. I just talked about it to everyone. I talked about human design to my clients for a year before I actually officially said, okay, I'm doing this. I was already, talking about and guiding them because I just couldn't stop. This is the kind of invitation from life. Does it make sense? Yeah. It's really helpful to see that, because here's the thing, guys, with everything, and specifically human design, what we do, we come to anything and we're giving a bunch of definitions. Wait for invitation, wait for strategy to respond. I will talk about this actually a little bit before I finish, but for the generators. And we're puzzled by that because we're taking things at face value. Like, what do you mean for invitation? So I can't do anything? I can't, I can't write anything. I can't, initiate anything because you told me I have to wait for invitation. Nobody's inviting me. What's going on? And then the bitterness happens, which is like bitterness is projectors' feeling of misalignment, and it's really horrible. Or frustration for generators. Generators are here to wait to respond. Here's the thing about the generator. What makes a generator is that you guys have this like inbuilt navigation system, let's say. And every moment something happens to be on the outside of you. When that something comes into your attention, your navigation system says either I have energy for this or I have no energy for this. It's like an oscillator expanding energy. Oh, I have energy for this. I'll do this, and then it might go down a little bit and then come back. It might go down at the end of the night. You've been doing something that you love all day. You go to bed, you wake up. Oh, I want to do it again, and you have the energy for this. This is what the life force sacral energy, that's what makes you a generator. It's the energy to responding to the world and the outside of you. So you're doing that all the time. But what you guys sometimes do as generators is that you don't listen to your body saying, I have energy for this, but you're listening to your mind that's saying, oh, I better do this because that's how it should be done. So it's very should hooked mind, because the aura of a generator is very porous. It's large, it's huge, it's brilliant presence, but it's very porous so that things can penetrate, so that things can come and, for your sacral to say yes or no. But because of that, you're also subject to, being influenced by another person's charisma or emotions, or, someone else just standing in your aura. You will be affected. And so your mind then starts feeling uneasy with that and starts starts rationalizing, basically. And that's where the shoulds come in, and that's where, I need to be prepared, I need to be perfect. There's so many things that are also, kind of thrown in the mix there. So there's a question there. It's a 4-6 emotional generator. What's the best niching strategy for this type? You cannot answer the question. I'm going to say it again. You cannot answer this question because this 4-6 emotional generator with your specific chart is a unique combination of traits. So if I came and I said to you, you know what, if you're a generator, this is the niching strategy, niche down. Yes, you could niche down. You know why? Because the generator is one kind of process at a time that you're vibing into. That's sort of could be a niche, but sometimes it's not the case. The 4-6 would be less a niche, more how you interact with people and how you show up in the world. So then you have to look at what you're doing specifically in your business and then approach this from that perspective. Does it make sense? Am I answering the question? It doesn't make sense. Okay. Let me just say, what I'm trying to say with that question is that you cannot give a blanket answer just based on the top level elements of your human design chart. What I'm trying to give you and what I'm trying to explain is that when you pick in human design things that feel empowering to you, and you take other things, those definitions, this is where I started talking about the definitions, we're giving definitions, we sometimes stay at the top level of definition itself, but we can go deeper and we can ask yourself, what does this waiting mean to me? What can I do while I'm waiting? Am I actually waiting? Is it a waiting like waiting in a doctor's office, waiting room? Or am I actively waiting, just being preparing for something to come into my life, right? Or am I preparing too much and I'm missing out everything that's coming into my life that I could be bouncing off? Because this is what the strategy to respond, see it as bouncing off things that are presented to you. Does this make sense a little bit better? No?
So, Juliet, I'm wondering if, I don't know if this is helpful in this realm of questioning here, but um, maybe if you can help people understand. So maybe they've done their chart and they've got these pieces, right? How can they, because you've written a whole book on this, how can they take those pieces and connect them with the different chapters in your book and help at least start to scratch the surface on what will make sense for them?
Okay, so um, provided you have read the book, I feel like I may be over explaining because if you have read the book and you're, for example, a generator and you've read a part on the generator energy, there's also some advice on how you can be showing up in your visibility. So that's already a part you can take. The next thing is authorities. In your human design chart, on the side where you know your birth details, all the kind of the words on that side, um, your authority will be mentioned there. So you can have an emotional authority, a splenic authority. You can have self-projected authority as a projector. There is actually 9 authorities altogether. So you can take an authority. The authority is how you make your decisions. What's in your body, or what is the way that indicates in your body that this is a thing for you? Because it's not always logical. You know, I'm a splenic projector. So my splenic authority means that I just know. It's a quiet knowing when something is for me. When somebody invites me, so for example, Nikki reached out and she said, I have this, you know, coaches in Cahoots. Would you like to come and speak? In my body, it was a yes. Before I started thinking and thinking, oh, it would be a good opportunity for me to come and talk, it was just a yes. This is something that my body feels, and there's physical sensation with that that indicates that it's a yes. A sacral for the generators is the same. It's a physical expansion of energy, right? When something is presented to you and you feel this expansion of energy, that's already your body saying, yeah, this is a yes, or a contraction, no. You know, so you can sense sometimes your body maybe doesn't feel like so much expansion, but maybe your lips quiver for a no. Watch your body generators. Watch what you do when you're asked to do something, like, you know, do you lean forward, do you go back? You know, your body is talking, and this is how it's like an extra um weight to making a right decision. You know, how is it correct for you? There are people with volitional authorities, uh, self-projected projectors, you know, ego manifested. These are all, I'm so afraid to just like bombard you with this terminology, but there are people who can talk, and as they talk about what they want, they can feel that this is the right thing for them to do. So it's really good to learn about your authority. This is the part in the book that you just read about your own. You don't need anything else. Just read about your own, and then you start watching it. This is how you apply human design. Human design, it's called an experiment when you're using human design in your life, because it's all about just watching how it works out for you and observing, and then making decisions, making not decisions, but making observations, and saying, okay, you know, I can see how I said yes, but my body went, and I still said yes, and then it didn't work out. You know, or, oh, I can see how I had this expansion in my body and I said yes, and it felt wonderful. It was such a great time I had. You know, so you're kind of watching what your body is saying and getting out of your head a lot, because the head, the mind, it's only a small part of what we energetically are, but it's really loud. So it feels like this is who we are. We identify us with our minds, but there's so much more to how we are and how we interact with the world. And this is where the aura, the energy, how the energy flows, this is what human design then gives you. Now, then the next part in my book is the profiles. The profiles are, it's where your brand voice is. And it's so cool because it takes overthinking out of how you should create content, for example. You know, I give you very like tangible examples. For example, I am a 1-3. One line is very introspective. So I'm literally walking around in a bubble in life. You know, I am not here to interact with others. I am always in my head. One is a very mental process. It's not the mental as in a negative way, but analyzing everything, literally analyzing and then sharing. Here's what, after all this analysis, because the analysis happens driven by the fear of that this is not solid. So you're going to challenge, you're going to look for the bottom line, and you're going to learn not everything, but seek information until you find that information that either confirms or busts, a belief, for example. And then you can share this to others, because you're doing everything through your own skin. And that was very interesting to me when I was writing my first book on marketing by human design. I wrote most of it, and then I had a huge writer's block. Actually, it wasn't even a writer's block, it was an imposter syndrome that hit me. And I thought, who am I to write about marketing and human design? Who am I? I'm not certified analyst. I forgot that I don't care about the certification in this specific area, right? Completely don't care. I don't have an ambition to be an analyst. Why would I spend so much time on money? But the imposter syndrome, it was horrible, and I almost gave up on the book until I looked at the picture, and the picture is of the woman with the quill, a queen sitting there, sharing her thoughts. And I thought, oh my God, first line in the human design, number 1-3, first line is a thinker who shares their opinions. And that was such a breakthrough moment for me. I'm getting goosebumps now, which is my spleen's way of saying this is really correct for you, what you're saying, because I'm only sharing an opinion. It's not a right or wrong. Somebody comes to me and says, Juliette, you made a mistake. I did make a mistake. You know what I did? I misspelled the name of a creator of a human design system 12 times in the book. And that's my third line in my profile, because third line makes mistakes, right? And who pointed the finger at me? Only but the most educated person in the human design world, who at the time we were discussing being a mentor, and she was the only one who even noticed, right? Because it's a weird name, Raul. So I did not only I misspelled it. I guys learned it wrong from the start because I'm dyslexic. So that's a lot of messing up. But knowing that this is part of your design, it's easy not to get hooked up on this. So what? I changed them. I corrected my manuscripts. I re-uploaded them, and I move on. That's how much confidence it gave me. I finished the book in 2 weeks after I had this idea that, oh my God, this is me sharing my personal thoughts. That's empowerment. And I can only give credit to human design for being that empowered, because I understood that it's not about other people and what they say and what they do, but it's about me showing up in the way that feels correct for me. If you're a fourth line, if you're 4-6, for example, you're the heart, you're like a queen bee of your community. You have a very personal way that you're connecting with people, very almost like family. It's not even friendships, because you can cut out a friend out of your life, but you can't cut out your auntie, who keeps calling you at 8 o'clock in the morning every birthday. I have one of those. I can't cancel her, and this is this kind of energy. You're always in your network. You are a big part of it, and it's up to you to nurture these relationships. It's up to you to reach out to people, to have communities, to celebrate others, and through that, nurturing your community and your network, you're influencing it and you're making an impact. Through your network, your opportunities come to you. So again, if you're a fourth line person, you can say, okay, so who is in my network that I could tap into to expand this network? Who is the quality people in my network? Because I want to have a quality network. If I don't have a quality network, then I'm going to only just attract all the, mediocre and worse than that. Who is the quality people, and how can I create collaborations, create, something interesting, do something together with them? How can I reach out to them? Because you can, because you're that kind of, fourth lines are very, you don't have to be sociable. And you probably hate networking events, by the way. When I'm saying network, I do not talk about the networking events, because if you think about it, networking events is full of strangers. The fourth line is about friends and people who you connect to. How interesting it is to understand this and then see things in a different way. So if you're fourth line, your goal is to become familiar to your audience. How can you take a complete stranger and make them kind of friend, or not a friend, but like familiar with you? That's very interesting. There's so many, and we're living in the world that, is living by the fourth line rules, right? Write a book. Start it with your personal story. There, you drew a curtain back, and now you're a little bit more familiar. People feel like they know you. That's already a big thing done, right? There's other traits with the fourth line that we can think about. It's masters and followers. You know how we have the celebrities that we all like, oh my god, we love Johnny Depp, we hate Johnny Depp, we love this, we hate this, we do this like as a collective. That's a fourth line theme, this kindness and meanness, friend, enemy, master and follower. So it's really interesting because that gives you so much opportunity to actually connect to people, even strangers, by becoming familiar to them, and explore the strategies and avenues that are more, whether if you like talking, doing video, if you like writing, write a book. It's not that hard. It takes some guts, but it's not that hard. But you're doing this strategically to connect to other people. Does this make sense, what I'm saying? So that's the profiles. That's why I'm really into profiles. I'm a profile geek. Now, the confusing part in my book that I think, and I have to thank your community because you actually brought up something that I think that I overlooked when I wrote the book, because I started going on about the centers, the G center, undefined G center, and the throat center, and this and that. And I'm talking about in your design, there's 9, blobs, there's 9 centers. Some of them are colored in, defined. That's your fixed energy. When you were born, basically human design, the basic of this, and I do talk about this in the book, the moment you leave your mother's body, you get imprinted by the cosmic consciousness. This imprint creates the definition. This is your one part of your design. Also, 88 degrees from that, and this is a bit of an astrology that comes in. I'm just going to simplify it. I don't want to go into the complicated part, but there is also a subconscious design, subconscious imprint, and overlaid by, together, these planets, this consciousness, right, activates certain gates. Let's call them gates. It comes from the mandala wheel, and it's to do with the astrology, to do with the I Ching. But these gates represent themes, different themes. For example, right now, the Earth and the Sun, we're moving as well all the time. We're getting these imprints. So right now we're in the transit of gate 2, which is about being open to receive, and backed by the Earth in gate 1, which is self-expression, right? So I'm sitting here and expressing myself and hoping to receive, just gratitude. I don't know, just open to receive. So when we're born, all these planets, they activate these gates. You see their shoots on the picture, on the body graph, right? There's shoots. When the gates are activated on both sides of the shoot, they create a channel. The channels are very interesting. I do recommend looking into that. I didn't go into that in the book because it's much more about personal development, I find, rather than how to do it in business. But the channels is what makes you unique. And then when you have a channel, it would define the centers. It would define the centers on both sides of that channel. And so then you have defined centers, right? And they have bigger kind of themes. So that's what I'm talking in the book. If you have your G center, it's the identity center, it's the higher self center, and it's about lovability, it's about direction in life. And a lot of times, and this is my little pet peeve, when people using human design in marketing, and they say, oh, if you have an undefined human identity center, that means you don't have like a set identity, so maybe you can't have a personal brand. What a lot of nonsense. It's nonsense. I have an undefined G center. I have a very strong personal brand, and David Bowie had an undefined G center, and we all know, no matter what he dressed up as, it was David Bowie, right? You can't miss it. So Prince is another example, and I want to bust these assumptions. And this is the last part of the book is actually a collection of the blog posts that I wrote, and probably this is why it's so a little bit shambolic. So thank you again, because I am going to update the manuscript and I'm going to just make it a little bit more clear. I didn't even realize it was confusing, but I hope now that you can go back, you can have a look at those. So we are referring to those centers. Let me see. Thank you that you're finding this helpful, because I think I had a splenic knowing before this call started, and I said to Nikki, I don't want to describe human design. I don't want to talk about human design. because I want to, let me just,
Juliette, for sure today, can you address, because you mentioned this in our little pre-chat we were having, the fear of visibility?
oh
Is
yes.
that something you want to dig into a little bit here?
Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about much more about what getting to know your human design a little bit at that top level can open your eyes to. For example, the fear of visibility. One of the reasons we are holding back and we don't want to be seen is because it involves other people. Because most people in the world, and now that I worked with hundreds of people with human design, I can even, I'm convinced that most people are not designed to have their attention on other people. Most people are here to learn something about themselves. There are a smaller amount of people who are focused on the others, and they're here to tell others what to do when those are in crisis, and only in crisis, right? But most of us is still very internal. So the traditional marketing and traditional way of doing things says you go find out about what they want, and then you give them what they want, and you tweak your language so they hear what they need to hear to make a purchase. I'm simplifying this and maybe a little bit trying to be ironic about it, but it's kind of like that's what we're told to do. But I find that this is where our energy gets really, clamped. This is where it's very difficult space to be and try and guess what others expect of you. What do they want to hear? I actually feel, frankly, I feel a little bit on this session because I went into trying to explain what human design was and I didn't want to do it. I started focusing on what do they need to hear from me, right? And that's not good for the energy of expression. That's not good. Because the true magic happens when we channel something that we do want to talk about or we have to say. So I always say to my clients, it's not about what they need to hear. Of course, you need to know who you're talking to. For example, if you're a coach that is, working with the corporate world, of course, you need to know who your client is because there's certain lifestyle, there's certain discourse, there's certain, there's terminology, there's examples that you're going to be using that they can resonate. Yes, you need to do that, but you don't need to know what they're thinking or what they want to hear from you. You as an expert is here to tell them what you see, what you have experienced, what your expertise is. And I think that turning back within is the key. So the fear of visibility comes with this fear of judgment. What if I say a wrong thing? What if I say something that will, I come home and my husband said, listen, I saw that video you did. What was that about? And I want to also say to you guys that people who we know in our real lives are the worst for our online visibility. Somebody taught me something, like a little mantra I'm going to share with you. It's a secret little mantra because my late husband Les, who passed away, while I was writing my first book, he was a very overpowering, real larger than life figure, and it was very difficult for me, to be honest, to be, building myself and doing things because there was a lot of not criticism, but a kind of like, still criticism. And he was saying to me that I'm not using English well enough and I'm not professional enough. My language is not professional enough. And I'm saying, well, I can't use jargon in my language because I need people to understand what I'm talking about. So I have to, tone it down a little bit. But he didn't understand. Why? Because he was not of this world. He was not a coach. He didn't understand anything about messaging. And it wasn't for him. He was not the one who would be on the receiving end of my message. So it just went over his head. People in our world, no matter, they're amazing and we love them in a different role. But in the role of, when it comes to us doing our business, we have to, this is the mantra that I say to myself. I love you. I respect you, but I don't give a flying banana what you think. I don't say it to them, but I think that. So I can look at the person, I can smile and say, I love you, I respect you, I don't give a flying what you think. And that really helped me. And I did even with my husband, I did that because we have to grow thicker skin because this is a very, it's not an easy thing to start showing up, because it feels like another side of the fear of visibility. It feels like we're talking to one too many, but we're not. this is another big breakthrough in understanding that I had. The online space is real intimate. When I'm consuming, let's say Emily did a video and I am watching that video, this is just me and Emily, no one else. It's not like Emily's on stage and thousands of people, in the audience. No, it's one-on-one. This piece of plastic that I'm looking into is my best friend. It knows all my secrets. It knows more than anyone in the world, and it never judges, and it never, it's never going to hurt me, because I know that the only person who will stick till the end will be the person who is interested in what I have to say. Because otherwise, why would they, there is Facebook, there's Instagram, they can go away and do something else. And that's a really, really good way of looking at, when we're thinking, oh, I don't want to be visible. Why? If you feel like you're going to be seen by too many, you're not. You're going to just drown in the sea of noise. So it takes a while to be seen anyway. It takes so long, but if you focus, instead of focusing on them and, oh my God, where I'm going to find them, focus on what you have to say. Capture that. Capture that in your writing. Capture that in your videos. Put that out there. And let the right people, obviously we can collaborate, I can come into a community like this and you lovely people can be listening to me for like an hour, right? That's a different environment, but we can seek those opportunities, of course, as well. But with other content, I mentioned I started as a Facebook organic marketer first for the first 5 years. And then I had a big shock, because when I pivoted into human design and marketing, I was still on Facebook. And I thought all my clients were coming on Facebook because I was still posting just about human design. Then I started asking my paid clients with the blueprints where they found me. This is a question on the form that everybody has to fill. And I created a Trello board and I started putting stickers to see, where because I don't like data and so it overwhelms me and I'm very visual. And I was shocked because within a couple of months, I realized nobody's finding me on Facebook. Everybody's finding me on Google or my podcasts or referrals. That was a big eye opener, because all that hustle, social media is another really, really unhealthy place to be hustling all the time for our nervous system. And yet the results are questionable, because it's like here today, gone tomorrow, but you spent all that creative energy creating something for, today, and yet it then gets drowned in, and then there's another thing. You can put a really amazing post, very deep, really, really good. But the next post in the feed is a cute puppy. And then there's no competition, because the brain doesn't want to be serious. It just wants entertainment. And I am guilty myself. I cannot learn on YouTube, guys. I cannot consume YouTube serious videos, because there's suggestions on the sidebar and there will be either SNL or music videos or makeup tutorials or plants or whatever I'm into. It's going to be there, and my brain just wants that, right? So this is where it's a problem, right, with social media. So the way I find, and the way I use my human design as well, and it's with the human design thing, again, it's about individually. This is why I feel very awkward, giving like a blanket statement, because I actually stand against those people who do. And I see that this happens because this is what the audience wants, right? But I'm against that, because the idea here is that you find what's unique about you. Then you take all those definitions about you and you find the empowering meaning to them, so that you can get cocky, like me with my book, that realization, like, oh yeah, you know what, yeah, I can do this, this is me. And then you can show up, but you can show up choosing where your energy goes. So if I, as a projectors are non-energy type. We don't have this sacral that can be exhausted and the next morning you can wake up and have energy again. Some projectors are very energetic, it's true, but we still, we don't have that sustainability. So I can be very, very creative for 3 days, and then for 4 weeks, I have like flat line of creativity, nothing. So I can't do really social media with that kind of stuff. I did that before, but I told you in the beginning, it's just motivational nonsense. I want to write something or say something that is of a meaning. This is really important to me. That's where I feel successful as a projector, because I almost self-recognize that this is something I want to say. I want to say, don't follow cookie cutter strategies, because, just because it works for that person, it's not guaranteed to work for you. And also, you don't know if it worked for that person. You don't know what was the, the point A to point B they're taking you. What was their point A? Did they already have a big audience? Did they have other advantages you don't have? We never told these things. We just see this, like a highlights of success. So we can't do things like other people, but we can find the way that works for you by trying, testing, not holding on to what doesn't work, and yet recognizing that something else is very enjoyable to do and it works. Asking people, talking to clients, people who are paying us, asking them, why did you make a decision to work with me? Because sometimes it's shocking, what they say. The most shocking answer to me, when a lady signed up for my 12 months mentorship program, and I said, why did you sign up? So I'm really interested. And she said, I saw a video and you were wearing this really amazing earrings, and 3 minutes later I knew you were my girl. We make decisions based on weird things. Of course, it wasn't the earrings. Of course, she must have found me and already consumed something, but that didn't stand out after the earrings. That was not important, right? So people still work with people. So because I'm showing up the way I like, and if I want to wear crazy earrings, I will. I'm obviously attracting people who are attracted to those things. So yeah, did I answer some of the question of fear of visibility and how to reframe it?
That was really helpful for me personally, Juliette. So thank you. Yeah.
Um, with the human design reading, so there's, of course, and I'm going to say that because, guys, this is, I'm here as well as a guest. What I offer is these personalized marketing blueprints by design, where they're about 50 pages long, depending on your chart. I go a little deeper than the book, obviously, so I will go even deeper into energy type and also give you some suggestions for the marketing suggestions or visibility suggestions, your authority, your profile. I am a geek on profiles because profiles is the brand. How do you show up? I'm a 1-3. A thought leadership position is perfect for a 1-3, for example. So sometimes, they're more pain point driven marketing, but in a very, very authentic way. If you're 5-1, for example, that's where you have to master the way to show up, not shy away, not staying too generic, poke into that wound, because people come to you in crisis. That information I get from human design. And I'm working with clients, and it's so interesting because, when I'm describing to an individual person, their characteristics, they're just nodding their head. So the blueprints, it's not a reading as such, because I'm not an analyst, but you have this real comprehensive report up to 50 pages. I go into very interesting things like your variables, like when you're making decisions, there's other ways that your body can tell you that this is correct or incorrect decisions. Some people are tactile. They can get like, some people feel vibration. I have a taste cognition, which means that I have this metallic taste when something is wrong. And no, for me, I get this real metallic taste in my throat. It's very interesting because the spleen is a very quiet organ. It doesn't scream at you, yes or no. It's a very quiet thing. So if you're overthinking, have a loud chatter, this metallic taste you can't ignore, so that's interesting as well. And I think it's really good to know how your brain works and, what drives you when you're making your decisions. What's the drive? Because I mentioned my drive is fear. It's a fear of that I don't understand the bottom line, because I need to understand the bottom line for the decision to be correct. So everything I do is driven by this fear motivation. It's not that I'm afraid of anything. It's not that kind of fear, but there's different motivations. So we have all that in the report. And then you get on call with me for 45 minutes, but we stay for an hour. And we talk about your business, your marketing, what stood out in your report, sometimes about the human design elements, and sometimes we bring into strategy, because there's no point just talking about human design. So if you're interested in something like this, like a combo, so you don't have to go and learn about human design, but I can still give you the individual advice, not just like generic. That's why I don't like doing, because it's such a unique, everyone is unique. We have common traits, yes, but how everyone will be showing up is still, and it depends on your business, what you do, and your personality and all these kind of things. So That's the blueprint. With the human design analyst, there is a lot out there. I probably do have several names I can mention, but I'm not going to do it now on the call. Maybe I'll just, I'll give some names because I have to go and have a look who is still doing it. I don't hang out in human design communities necessarily. How is that for Nancy? Is that okay?
Yeah, and I just want to mention that I did put in the chat several times Juliette's a link to where you can sign up for one of her blueprint sessions and the reports. And she has given us a very generous offer. So check that out in the chat. Um, yeah, I think I'm going to be signing up. So
I'd love to see you. My
yeah.
my vision for what I do. So the blueprints are kind of the door into my world because I mentioned, with my unique design, I don't really like people. I mean, you guys, a lot of you might resonate with that. I don't like strangers. I don't necessarily feel comfortable with strangers. I am not the person who talks to strangers in the street. I am very, very friendly because I lived in Ireland and I know what small talk is like. I can talk to people on the bus, but I don't have to. And if I don't have to, I will not. So I kind of like, I'm a loner. And so I want to build a business that allows me to be alone, to be in my world, and yet share, and then have people who come into my world, but have like a taster to make sure that they're correct. Disclaimer, ever since I started focusing on my personality in my business and building all my business around who I am. And by the way, guys, I just wrote another book. The book that we were talking about is written 2 years ago, but I actually just wrote a second book on visibility that sells. And that outlines exactly how, the visibility part, how I built the business. It's not necessarily as human designer oriented, although I do mention it there, but it's much more about what I'm talking now. Building the business around who you are, acknowledging to yourself, it was very hard to acknowledge that, I don't want to have a community. And it sounds horrible when you say I don't like people. You know how many clients I get who come to me and say, Juliette, I don't like people. I don't want to be visible. I don't know. It's this whole thing. I don't want to, who are they? I don't want to incorrect people in my world. How can I create barriers that they have to jump through all these loops before they come to me? Like, so many clients are trying to put up, different pre-qualifiers and things, and we do that because we are just so afraid that a wrong person is going to suck our energy. Who had nightmare clients? I've had nightmare clients for years. That's why I started my online business. It was because every single person I worked with were just like energy vampires for me. I didn't feel appreciated. I felt used all the time. I was paid pennies. And I thought there must be people who are my people somewhere in this world. And I went online. It was literally driven by that. But with the online world, the more we're trying to bend backwards and do things like they tell us to do, and they don't feel convenient. I like this word because your business has to fit within you, right? If it feels inconvenient, you're going to start sabotaging it, or you're going to attract people who are attracted to something else, not to your true essence, because you're not being true to yourself, right? And you're attracting these people and they come in with some expectations and you don't even know what they want from you, and it's again a strange experience. I haven't had a strange experience in like 3 years. It's such an amazing thing. Everyone, I can guarantee that everyone who orders the blueprint, apart from 2 situations in 3 years, I just thought of this. I once gave like a big sale, half price sale, and 2 people came through that sale obviously to check me out. That was a big, actually, a big lesson on don't lower your price too much because, wrong people sneak in. And so then I felt difficult on the call. I felt like the person weren't seeing me for who I was. They were just checking out my offer because it was affordable in that moment. That's not a good vibe. I want people to come to my call to see me as a guide. I want to guide them. I want to serve them. I want to give them all. I will be a vegetable after the session, but you will not see it because I'm going to just give all on the session, right? This is how I'm thinking about my business structure. So therefore, I have these blueprints, and that's the door into my business. Nobody goes further unless they did the blueprint with me, because that's where we both know Then there is the 12 months mentorship, and and I keep it very, very simple in my world. But all those decisions were based because I've started really, really implementing what I learned about my human design. Not all the small things. I don't even know how, not that I don't know them, I don't remember them. I have very bad memory. So I don't remember half of the small little intricacies and, gates and planets and all that, because it's not important. It's not practical. I love practical that makes sense, that I can implement now, that I can tell myself, you know what, Juliette, you're a first line. Of course you can talk about yourself. This is, if you live in a bubble inverted inside, what else can you talk about but what's going on in your head? That gave so much freedom to share, whereas before it would be like, ooh, I'm talking about myself too much. My mom said I'm selfish because I talk about myself. Oh, a big trauma. And so, this, all these things, and they stop us from showing up. But we have to show up because we have a duty to bring what this truth that we want to channel through our businesses to help others. We have a duty to be visible. We have a duty to be seen so that those people who need us can find us. Because if we are not seen, they will find someone else. And that someone else might not be a correct person for them. I really, really buy into that way of thinking. So yeah, I hope that I answered about the blueprints.
Oh, wow. That last line is a mic drop moment. We have a duty to be visible. That's amazing. Yeah. Oh my gosh, this has been so rich and so full. Thank you so much, Juliet. Emily, did you have anything, any questions or anything you wanted to
Let's have a
ask?
look in the chat though.
Yeah, Emily, if you want to go through that, and anybody else. And just please, everybody, put in the chat, just, cheers. Cheers for Juliet. And thank you. Thank you
Thank you,
for
guys. Sarah
Juliet.
asked a question here. Can you tell if two people are going to work or create well together based on their human design charts? It's a very interesting conversation. And actually, one of my kind of passions and one of the articles on my website that ranks so much, it's about connection charts. It's about my romantic life, though, because, it wasn't about work. I honestly, here's the thing about human design. It's not like a matchmaking service or anything like this. And even when we energetically seem to be really, like aligned and seem to be working together, we can be incorrect people for each other. And it's only our inner authority, that sense inside, that can tell. So on paper, it can look like it's a perfect match. And in real life, it could be trapped together. This is something that I've experienced myself, even with connection charts. I actually went before, I had a very brief period between my marriages. Unfortunately, I lost my second husband to cancer. I wrote about it in the book. But 11 months to the day of his death, right, I met my current husband, and it was just, when you know, you know. And in that 11 months, I had a lot of really weird experiences with men. That just life was showing me things, and I was looking at the human design compatibility charts, like learning. It was like a lesson in how can this work? And it doesn't, because on paper it's perfect, in life it's not. It's just something that needs to be decided. And I think this is why it's so cool to really learn about how you're making decisions. You're an emotional projector, Sarah. Didn't you say that you're an emotional projector somewhere? No, no. No, sorry, I apologize. So based on your authority, so how you're making decisions, when you're mastering this process, whether it's in the moment, like I am splenic, or if you're sacral in the moment, or emotional, which is you're gonna need to wait through your emotional ups and downs, emotional waves. And when you master this waiting and everything, that knowing, that clarity, it stays. So you can work with someone, if you're emotional authority, do trials. Do like trial periods. That's my advice, to you. If you are a mental projector and you have no authority, or environmental authority, do trials. Because you need to experience to really know, and you need to experience over a period of time to really know. Actually, it applies to different things. I am as well, I not because of the authority, but because of the other elements. My third line, for example, needs to live through something. My body, it's a second line, so it's a body line. My body needs to experience to really know whether I like something or not. So I can be, I'll give you a quick anecdote. I got obsessed with plants 2 months ago. From 2 plants, I have now but 50, and there's another 10 on order coming from the internet. I got completely obsessed with this plant situation. But it's only now, 2 months later, after I've lived through this, and now we had mealybugs, and we had the thrips, and we had all these kind of things. Now I know, whether I like plants or not. Now I know which ones because you have to live through things, right? So there's a lot of interesting elements, and human design just gives you this practical thing. This is why you're like this, or this is why you're not never finish anything, or this is why you are, so slow to start. And you're saying, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine for me. I will be slow to start, but then there'll be a moment and I'll start. And you go and there's a big breakthrough. That's the kind of joyful things that I love about human design. I'm very passionate about those things.
Diana wanted to know if it's appropriate for somebody who's just kind of starting out in her business to come and have a blueprint session with you.
Yes, absolutely. It doesn't matter whether you're in the business or not, because if you're just starting your business, I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to take a long time to establish it. It's going to take a long time for you to figure things out. I'm in year 9 of my business. It only last 3 years, the business was consistent enough because it took so long for me to figure things out. And it's good because now it's solid. Some of us are slower than others, but it's going to take a long time. But isn't it wonderful to start from the right sort of approach to this? Isn't it wonderful to prioritize what you're trying, based on what suits you, and not because the coach told you and then the whole year you're doing this thing and it still didn't work. I actually had the biggest burnouts in my life when the coaches that I worked with told me and pushed, although I knew that it wasn't for me. And they were saying, no, Juliette, wait, you have to be coachable. You know how coachable you are. Be coachable, Juliette. And I just had such a block, and 6 months couldn't promote my business, nothing. I don't know how I survived, to be honest with you. But those are the kind of things. So at any point you can do the blueprint. Yes, absolutely. Also, a very good suggestion for you is to read that book on visibility that sells, because that outlines a long-term strategy of building your visibility and what to focus on and what's worth your time, what's probably is not worth your time. Of course, I'm sharing from personal experience, but it could be really good to reflect based on somebody else's. We learn from observation of others. That's why these kind of books and autobiographies and everything we can learn. So I really do recommend. Okay. Have a look. Oh, Sarah, manifesting generator. Manifesting generators always looking for structure, and yet this is not for them. Just allow yourself to multitask and never put yourself in one box. If you feel like you've lost energy to do something, just park it, do something else, come back to it when you have energy again. It's this kind of conveyor belt approach to everything that you do, not just in business, in life. You're there writing an article or something and then just got bored with it, leave it halfway, go do something, I don't know, cook something or whatever you're into. Then come back. It's gonna recharge yourself by doing something else. This is the kind of very interesting energy to navigate.
I realized I was talking a little while ago and I was on mute. I just really wanted to piggyback on what you said, Julia. Oh my gosh, whoever was asking if I should go ahead and have that blueprint done now at the beginning of my business. Oh, please, because if I had known and had been more okay with who I was in the beginning of my business and known that I don't have to go follow all these other people and do what they're saying, I feel like I would have been so much further ahead. So yeah, the more you can know yourself and start implementing those things sooner, whether you use human design or whatever, but the more you can do that, the better.
Yeah. May I wrap this up to say you don't have to learn about human design. You don't. It's just very, very bloody interesting. You don't have to. It's not going to make or break your business. What's going to make or break your business is you allowing yourself to be you. I personally found some, confirmation of, oh yeah, it's okay to be me because I am that in human design. I also found other confirmations in learning about autism, for example. So there's different ways we can learn about ourselves and why we are so weird. But then our duty is to give ourselves permission to be that weird and unapologetically, because we're trying to fit into this world, but we can just show up and let the world fit into us. And it's so cool because it's possible. I am literally living the life where I created everything, the way I work, the way I communicate with people. And some things are very difficult. And frankly, will tell you, some things are very difficult to establish. For example, I don't like social gatherings with, I love friends, one-on-one, especially. I kind of like parties, but I always feel very tired. And I hate family gatherings. So I had to just tell my family, I'm not doing your Christmases and all that kind of stuff with you anymore, guys, because it's like I'm just tired. I'm overstimulated. I have an autistic daughter. She gets overstimulated. I have a husband with his own neurospicy brain. He gets overstimulated. We're just bored with you guys. We're not into this. It was very hard to do that, but it's the same. So if you can do it with the family, surely you can do this bunch of strangers somewhere in the world. I think that it's about just being true, radically true to yourself, and it's like a muscle. It's in the beginning, it's very weak, and and then we just get, the more we do it, the more easy it becomes. The mind never shuts up. The mind always tries to tell you something, oh, you're not working hard enough, you would be so much further. And this is why I wanted to wrap up Nikki, because he said I would have been so much further. You are exactly where you're meant to be right now, because you need to go through this journey that's uniquely your journey, and you need to learn all these things, and you need to fail just enough times, and you need to succeed just enough times to be where you're going to be. So you are exactly where you need to be right now. Always remember that. And this is wonderful, because this is also a very powerful moment, because we often think that we're further back than where we are really. It's really interesting. So yeah,
very true.
Everything
very
as it should be.
I love that. So many little gems sprinkled throughout this conversation. Oh my goodness. Oh, Juliette, thank you. Thank you for being here with us. And thank you everyone for coming today. Please feel free to reach out to us, to Juliette, if you have any questions. Check Juliette's books out. All right, everybody. I know we're past time. Thanks for sticking with us.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. We will see you next time on Coaches and Cahoots.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.